My name is Miranda Johnson. I have a 10-year-old and we did SNAP cycle spring 2016.
Okay.
I heard about SNAP through a coworker. During that time, I was having some challenging behaviors with my son, primarily at school. So when we heard about SNAP, we kind of jumped on it. We were told there was a waiting list, but shortly thereafter, we were able to get in and get started, and we really benefited from the program, went through it, and then over the summer, I did some training, and now I am a SNAP parent facilitator. We did individualized therapy, which to me, just was a little session met with me or us as a whole and then him individually, but it didn't really teach me what I feel like effective parenting skills with how to cope with his behaviors, because previously it was a lot of yelling, nothing got accomplished. I'd yell, he'd be upset, and we'd still have the issue. So one of the most important things that I think I took from SNAP was the effective communication, learning how to get on his level, hear what he's saying, receive what he's saying, make a plan based off of that, and then learning how to gauge my emotions, watching for his triggers, and just, better able to control me as a parent as how I respond to him if he's in the moment with a behavior, with a challenging behavior. In the beginning, I think we were both reluctant because we were looking at the length of time that we had to participate in the program. But I think once we got to week 3, where we got heavily involved in the camaraderie amongst the parents, grew, it was like a family. We were, wondering, well, how was your week? Well, what happened? Well, what did you do in this situation? And I think vice versa with the children, we started looking forward to that session because we were able to vent a little bit. We were able to learn something maybe we didn't know, and then we had to then go home and implement that, and then we could talk about our positive experiences. And I think that's the biggest thing. We all were like, okay, well, if that worked for you, well, let me try it that way. So just the whole learning, it evolved over time. And then like the 13th week, we were like, man, what are we gonna do with our Thursdays after it's done? Because we had gotten so accustomed to being in session. One of the things we learned in SNAP is how to gauge your own triggers and when you feel yourself getting upset, some of the things that you can do, because you're not effective when you're upset. So even if I would get a call from the school about a bad behavior, instead of my first reaction, be to blow a gasket, let me listen, let me, take what was being said, in and, take a deep breath. And then if I needed to regroup or revisit the issue, 5-10 minutes later, whatever it was, in order for me to be effective, I needed to be calm. So it taught me, stop, pay attention to my body, respond accordingly, and then I can better gauge or handle the situation without being angry. Effective communication.
Effective communication.
Yes, that helps the most, because breaking a direction down, and then not only that, making sure you have your child's attention. Whereas previously I could be in my bedroom and be like, hey, I need you to clean your room. Well, I don't know if he heard me or if he was really listening, if he caught what I said, but being able to say, I need 5 minutes of your time after the show, I need you to go clean your room, but in that, make your bed first, and then when you're done, come and see me. And then that way he was able to receive what I said, act upon that, and then come back. And then I'm not frustrated, because I've told him 10 things, and he's, looking at me like, where do I start first? On the priority list. So for me, it was embedded in me that once I give a direction, I didn't care what the steps were, they needed to be done. So it changed my mindset with how I communicated with him. Instead of yelling across the room or across the house, making sure we're eye level, and that he receives and he can communicate back to me what it was that I asked of him, and then actually execute that task. He did because it was a group of his peers, people that he didn't know, and he's very outgoing. So, to have that time, even though they were able to play a little bit, they still learned a little bit. And he was even able to tell me or recognize, Mama, I feel like you getting a little upset. You need to, you need to use your snap. So,
and so before snap, if your son had said that to you, how might you have responded?
I would have been like, don't check me because I'm the parent. But it really made you think like, okay, he's right. Let me chill out. Parent participation is a requirement, because a lot of times you can send your son to a program and then they get treatment, but then there's no treatment for you as a parent. So it puts the onus on both people. Both parties have to do their part and partake, with the program.
Definitely.
Which is there. I haven't seen another program that requires that participation. School has been so much better. I share it with the school, of course, what SNAP is, allowing him, the breaks to, kind of walk away, if he needed to snap his fingers, get a drink, or whatever it was, and he implements that. The teacher knows if he raises his hand and say, I need a moment, that he can, go outside the classroom, calm down, come back. So he still is able to use his snap to kind of keep himself self-regulated. And now he'll tell me, I had a bad morning, but I was able to regroup, so I had a good rest of the day. So that's a victory to me.
That is huge.
So I don't have to hear from the school. He'll come and tell me, Mom, I didn't do too well this morning, or I didn't do too well this afternoon. And I'll say, well, what should you have done to do it differently? And he's able to tell me, and he said, but I was able to still get it back under control. So that's different from before. It's free. And it will change your whole perspective as a whole with parenting. Like, I read up on it and I said, okay, this will be good, but the sheer fact that it puts the onus on both parties, and then it really requires you to think outside of the box, or what you're accustomed to, or how you were raised, to parent. If someone would have told me that, it really would have changed the dynamic of even my whole household and how I relate to my other children. That I think, that's a selling point that I use with people when I talk about SNAP. My session went smoothly. By the time we left, like I said, the camaraderie that we had established, even amongst the facilitators and the parents, was great. There is not one thing I think I'd change about the program. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and for the simple fact that it's free, you cannot be free and there be some change.